So good afternoon, everybody that's on the call. Thanks for joining us. My name is Joshua Shannon. I am the business liaison for Josephine County Youth Pathways Partnership down in Grants Pass, Oregon. And in just a minute, I'll be introducing Jeff Harms. He's a district representative with the Northwest Carpenters Union. I believe Jeff is in Eugene, Oregon right now. Jeff's going to be here to discuss pathways into the industry along with other considerations for becoming a carpenter or just a general tradesperson in general. He's also going to let us know what we need to obtain a high-wage career in the trades industry. A couple things before we get started. I want to invite everyone to go ahead and introduce themselves to the chat feature. Just let us know your name, what school or organization you represent, and whether you're a student or a staff member, just so we have a general idea as to who's on the call. And as others join us, they can go ahead and do that as well. I'm going to ask that you keep your cameras off to eliminate any unnecessary bandwidth issues that might arise. Also, in regards to privacy, this is being recorded. So if privacy is a concern, that's something to keep in mind. Finally, if you do have any questions, I think if we go ahead and type those into the chat feature as well, I can bring those up for Jeff and he can handle those as they come in, if that works best for you, Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So I'll let you know. I'll keep you apprised as to when those come in. If we can't get to all questions today because of time, I'll do my best to reach out to each of you individually and get you steered in the right direction. So without further ado, Jeff Harms, thanks for joining us today, Jeff. I know that just a couple weeks ago, you weren't even on, or I wasn't on your radar. So this is kind of a short notice for you. Do appreciate you spending time with us today. The floor is all yours, sir.
Thank you, Joshua. I appreciate it, and it's really good to be here. This is a little bit awkward. We do a lot of career fairs and job fairs, and talk to high schoolers and also community colleges. Really, all ages. I really enjoy the in-person job fairs and opportunities to speak with people. So this is a little bit weird. It's good for someone who doesn't like to public speak because I can't see any of you, but it's also difficult for someone like me who kind of speaks by feeding off of the questions in the crowd. So I do encourage you to ask any questions that come to mind. But I wanted to first tell you a little bit about the Carpenters Union. Our union covers craft workers that do commercial, for the most part, commercial construction, from the footings, which is really the beginning of a project, the foundation of a building, all the way to finish. So our carpenters will be there at the beginning, striking out the footprint of the building, and we'll be there hanging the doors and putting in the cabinets at the end of the project too. We do have carpenters that specialize in each one of those scopes, but the further you get away from the metro areas in our area, that would be Portland, Seattle, the further you get away from those areas, the less of an opportunity you have to specialize. Typically, if we have a carpenter that's going to specialize in concrete formwork, they're going to travel quite a bit. So for me, living in Eugene, away from our largest metro areas, I just tried to learn a little bit about everything. So I didn't ever become an expert in anything, but I can hold my own really in all the way from the footings to the finish work. So our carpenters will do that. Those footings will do any concrete, structural, concrete. Then we move into the framing. We have carpenters that do wood framing. We have carpenters that do metal stud framing. We'll hang the exterior skin, the Dens glass. We'll do the siding. Our interior carpenters will do the drywall, the ceilings, the finish work, the cabinets, the doors, the hardware. So really, as a union carpenter, you have an opportunity to do a wide variety of scopes of construction. Outside of that general carpenter and interior carpenter scope, our carpenters, we also represent pile drivers or pile bucks who are typically there before our concrete carpenters, establishing the foundation. Pile bucks will work offshore and drive pile for docks and bridges. Our pile bucks are We also have a diving division of our pile bucks, and those folks are underwater welders for the most part. They make great money, up to $100 an hour and more, but they also have a very challenging job and require some additional training outside of our apprenticeship program as well. But we also have millwrights in our organization, and millwrights, they tell me, I was never a millwright and never did that work, but our millwrights tell me if it moves, it's theirs. So they install conveyor belts, escalators, anything you would see inside of like a UPS facility that's moving those boxes and that material around. We also have scaffold erectors who their primary job is to set up staging for other trades. So if there's maintenance at a mill that needs to happen in the ceiling with the HVAC system, our scaffolders will go in there prior to that, build the scaffolding so that the other trades can get to their work. And then when they're done, they'll come in and tear that scaffolding down as well. So a wide range of opportunity in the Carpenters Union. To get involved with the Carpenters Union, let me talk a little bit about all trades, really, all commercial trades. There's a number of great opportunities. If you have construction as an interest, you don't necessarily have to do the structure, which is what the carpenters do, but you can also run the electrical in the building. You can do the plumbing in the building. You can be an iron worker, which works hand in hand with carpenters in the structure. Iron workers tie the rebar that sits inside of our concrete, and then a lot of times they'll build steel structure on top of our foundation and concrete as well. And really any of our trades, our union trades, have really the same pathway to getting involved. And for the most part, for someone who has no experience, we all have apprenticeship programs that is designed to take someone interested in the trades as a first-term apprentice, and in a 4-year period, turn them into a journeyman carpenter or iron worker or plumber or an electrician. Very, very similar pathways. Most of our apprenticeship programs are governed by the state that it resides in. In this case, the state of Oregon has set certain parameters so that the apprenticeship programs are very similar. We have an intake process that's meant to be equitable to everybody. Used to be, if you wanted to get into the trades, you needed to know somebody, have a family member in the trades, or have some sort of connection. And we've really worked, I think all of our union trades have really worked to get rid of that. Of course, it always helps to understand the industry that you're going into, and oftentimes you have a deeper level of understanding if your dad comes home or your mom comes home dirty every day, tired, talks about their work. You know that the commitment that they put into their work is deep. So the apprenticeship process is really an application process and an interview process, and is meant to be equitable and equal for everybody. To give yourself a leg up for that process, though, as high school students and folks looking to get into this industry from the ground level, really any type of experience that you can get in construction, whether it be high school, career technical education classes, or working for a home builder, or just working for a contractor, getting your hands dirty, getting your feet wet in our industry, helps you become more attractive when you get to that interview process with a union. Regardless of the union, the more experience you have, the better off you're going to be. And that doesn't have to be tangible on-site working experience, but just I took these courses in high school. I worked these summer jobs. I've worked for these contractors. It really helps you. What we're looking for when we go through those interviews are people that have a realistic expectation of what they're getting into, people that have the basic work ethic, and that's some of the soft skills that your instructors are trying to get through to you that really apply to all career choices and career paths. But in construction, we have a very competitive world where we have great jobs. Our journeyman carpenters are currently at $41.75 per hour. That's their hourly wage. On top of that, and outside of that hourly wage, there's full family health care that covers you and all of your dependents. I know as young folks, that doesn't mean a lot, but once you start having children and have a spouse, that does start to really pay off, and you really start to understand what that means, that full family health care. And there is a true value there. We also, through our contractors also provide a defined benefit pension. So when I go to retire, when I'm ready to retire, the years that I've put in as a union carpenter, and I've been at this for almost 20 years, when I retire, I'll have a pension that won't expire until I do. So a defined benefit pension is a guaranteed monthly benefit that doesn't expire until the person does. So unlike a 401k where you save a bulk amount of money and then it's up to you to manage that through the end of your life, our trades provide us with defined benefit pensions for the most part. All organizations are different, but I think most unions right now are still providing that defined benefit pension. So it's a great reward. Our first term apprentices, if you were to interview and get accepted into the apprenticeship program, when you hit the job as a general carpenter on day one, you're making 60% of our journeyman wage, journey carpenter wage. And currently that's at $25.05. So on your day one, without any expectations of knowledge of the trade, you're making $25 an hour. After 3 months, you have that health care, and after 3 years of working, you'll be vested into that pension. But in return for that fantastic wage and that fantastic opportunity, there is a lot of soft skills that you're learning in high school and your other programs that really do count. That ability to show up on time and to be focused on the task at hand is crucial. Our carpenters have the ability to, in some ways, solicit their own work. So all of our carpenters are hired through a dispatch system. So when a contractor needs a carpenter, they call our dispatch system and they request either an apprentice or a journey carpenter. And from that dispatch, the dispatch then calls the apprentice or carpenter and sends them out to that job. Our carpenters also have the ability to solicit work in some ways. So our contractors have the ability to name call carpenters. So if I go to a job here in Eugene and I introduce myself, my name is Jeff Harms, I'm a union carpenter, this is the experience that I have, that contractor has the ability to call our dispatch and say, I want to hire Jeff Harms. And it's that aspect that really provides us the opportunity to either excel that dispatch function of our union or not. So if I walk into that job site at 2 p.m, not dressed to work and not looking like I want a job, then they're not going to name call me. I'm still going to have to wait for a dispatch system to call me for a job. But if I can walk into that job site trailer early in the morning, dressed like I'm ready to work, introduce myself, and show some sort of determination and some sort of hunger to be there, then you're setting yourself above and beyond the rest of the group. And it's in a world like ours where the work is not always steady, it is competitive. We compete with each other all the time. And quite honestly, it's one of the things that drew me to construction is that fact that you're working outdoors a lot, which I love. And the fact that you're competing all the time with your coworkers and with your brothers and sisters on the job site. We're all competing to be faster and to be better, which makes us all better, but also makes the day go faster and also makes the job more fun. There's nothing better than sitting at break time and asking your rival crew if they're going to need help at the end of the day, because you've almost got yours done. So there's a huge sense of competition in our industry as well, and that I've seen that on every single job that I've ever worked on. It's a good thing sometimes, it's a bad thing sometimes. Just depends on the people that you're dealing with. But if we're talking about construction as a whole, there is a real commitment and a real sacrifice. We make good wages, we have good benefits, we have good working conditions. We get to build the coolest things. I got to work at Yankee Stadium as a union carpenter, and I've got to work on several buildings and athletic facilities at the U of O and OSU. We really do get to touch cool stuff and stuff that we like to drive our families and friends by and show them. But there's, in return of that opportunity to work on the really cool projects and have a great skill base and go through a great apprenticeship program, there is a sort of commitment and a level of sacrifice that you have to give back to the industry. We often travel for our work. There's not always a good construction project, close to where we live. And if there is, the 20 carpenters that job takes may already be there. So, you have to be prepared in the construction industry, regardless of if you're going to be an iron worker, a carpenter, or a plumber, that you may have to travel for work. So we do have to, kind of ingrain that into our minds and our families' minds. When I come home and tell my wife that my next job is going to be in Portland, and I'm going to, for the next 6 months, going to be either driving back and forth every day or finding a place to stay up there. That's not only a sacrifice for me, but it's a sacrifice for my wife, and we've got to make sure that it makes sense for us. But earning that wage of $41.75 plus the benefits that covers my wife and my kids with health care, oftentimes that sacrifice is one that we choose to make. In return for that good standard of living. It is the career that I chose. So, you have to take the good with the bad. And sometimes the bad is pretty evident, when the wind is blowing sideways, it's cold or wet, when it doesn't stop raining for 2 weeks and you're working outside every day, the sacrifice is evident. But every week when you get that paycheck, the reward is evident too. And not only that, but I can drive people around my community and really show them the things that I've put my hands on, the things that I've built. And my kids can tell you all those stories because they've heard them all. But it's something that even my kids have some pride in. My dad worked on that and my dad helped build that, or I saw my dad on that roof when it was being built, those types of things. I know I'm forgetting a lot of stuff, and I would really like to know what kind of questions everybody out there has about the trades. You can ask about carpentry, and if there's questions about other trades, I'll try to answer them if I can. Yeah, I think I'm ready for questions. I've kind of spun out on what I was going to say.
Jeff, just to get this question started, I know that some of our participants might be joining us from correctional facilities. What would you tell a student or a young person with a background in regards to learning the trades? Is there a barrier for them?
For the most part, no. People come from all walks of life, and actually we outreach to folks getting out of correctional facilities quite a bit. Because when you get out, you're going to need a leg to stand on, right? To work in construction, for the most part, a background, a criminal background is not going to impact you for the majority of projects. Depending on what your history has, what your criminal history is, there may be some projects that you're not able to work on. For example, Intel in Portland, they make computer chips, and don't ask me everything that they do, but a lot of what they do inside of Intel is high security. So they have trade secrets that they want to hold. They don't want information getting out. So our carpenters that work inside of Intel can't take pictures of their work and post it on Facebook. They can't really share what they're doing at work with other people. It's a very secure job site. And there's always work there. We always have carpenters there. But that is one example where the end user or the person that you're doing the construction for, not your contractor that you're working for, but the client that your contractor is building for, may require background checks. So if you've got a DUI, a recent DUI, then Intel says that they don't want you on their property. So you may run into situations like that, where the end user or the person building has certain security requirements. Occasionally in schools, and there's certain offenses that schools focus on, but occasionally, schools will do background checks on the construction workers. If it's a brand new school and we're not coming into contact with students, then typically there's less security requirements that come into play. But if it's a project where you're going to be working around students, then understandably background checks are often done on the folks that are going to be doing the work. So, Joshua, in broad scope, it's not going to affect them at all. Really, when they get out of the system they're in, if they can show up to work and work hard, if they can commit themselves to an industry, into a trade, and to learning the trade. I know plenty of folks who have been in the system that are succeeding, and actually we take great pride in that because everybody deserves a second chance, a third chance, and if you can commit yourself to the work, then really it's wide open for you. It's a great opportunity for just about anybody, and your history is not going to keep you from making the journey wage. It may keep you off of a job here or there. You may have to look a little bit harder for some of the work because some of the jobs may not allow you on them because of your criminal history. But for the most part, we actually take a good amount of pride and satisfaction in taking someone that has made some bad choices early on in their life and wants to do better, has learned that what it takes to do better, and are ready to do that. There's so many great stories of folks who have found a better way now. So for those folks that are in the correctional systems right now, that is not the end of anything. It's really just an opportunity to straighten your road a little bit and figure out what you want to do when you get out and make that happen.
Great advice, Jeff. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I do. I was wondering, does it make a difference if you have a GED or a diploma?
Great question. For the minimum requirements, if you're under 18, then we do require a GED or diploma. Once you turn 18, actually for our apprenticeship, neither one is required. It's, I would always suggest if you didn't get your diploma to get your GED. It's going to pay off in 100 different ways. But as far as getting into our apprenticeship program, there is no difference between the GED and diploma. We would like to see you have one, and that's it's not a question, in the interview process to get into the apprenticeship program. Unless you're under 18, then it's required. Once you're an adult, we're looking at different parameters. Of course, getting that clicked off in your path is important, I would say, for anybody. And the reason I say that is, yes, maybe it's not going to be important for any career choice that you initially take, but everybody changes as they grow and develop. And that's just one of those things that's going to pay off for you 100 times down the road. So, but to answer your direct question, there is no difference between GED and diploma when you apply for our apprenticeship program.
Okay, thank you.
The floor is open for anyone else who has questions. All right, Jeff, I have another question for you. As I alluded to earlier when we were on the call, I have a background. And surprisingly, 10 years ago, of the 30 people who were on my crew, we had 3 women. So it was refreshing to see that. 10 years gone now, what are we looking at as far as growth for women in the trades?
It's something we're, aggressively promoting. We want to see more women in our trades. In fact, we'd like to see our industry mask what the world looks like. There is zero reason why women can't be as equally successful in the trades. Many of our contractors are looking to promote women in the trades because of the skill set and that they bring to the table. I really think that any industry that's cutting out 50% of the population is really robbing themselves of 50% of the talent. So there's all kinds of opportunity for women in the trades. It's, I've been a carpenter for 20 years, and I will say 15 years ago, it was rare to see a woman in the trades. I would say now almost every job I walk onto has at least one woman, if not a handful of women working in the various trades. So, women are successful as electricians, plumbers, carpenters, iron workers, really any aspect of our trade. Women are equally as successful. And I would say, as far as apprenticeship programs, and I think I can say this across the board, all union apprenticeship programs are really trying to up their numbers of female apprentices. So I think right now, Carpenters Union is still under 10%. In fact, I think it might even be under 5%, but we are, I think all trades are actively trying to really access the talent of the other 50% of the world, and it's important to do that. And the job sites are becoming more and more acceptant and expected to have women on the job. So it's becoming easier for women to not only succeed, but feel comfortable on job sites.
Very awesome, very important. Another follow-up question, just to kind of get these questions out there. A first-time employee who might have limited funds, do you have programs in place to provide them tools until they are able to earn their first paycheck? And what would the cost be generally to get involved in the trade?
That's a great question. As a first-term apprentice, most of our contractors and other tradespeople don't expect a lot out of you except for hustle. And I would say that across the board, even as a journey carpenter going into a job, what you don't know, you make up in hustle. And I got a lot of jobs doing just that. I would be honest, hey, I know how to do this. I haven't done this system, but what I don't know, I'm going to make up and hustle. And you really do have to do that, even as a first-term apprentice. What's expected as far as the tools that you need to bring on day one, you are going to have to invest a couple $100s in tools, a tool belt, the general tools that go inside the tools that you carry. But again, you're not going to be expected to have all the tools. I would start off with, just your basic set of hand tools. If you're coming in as a general carpenter, you need your nail bags, you need a hammer, you need a speed square, you need a gyp knife. Those basic tools are going to get you going. And the way I did it, and I didn't come from a construction family at all. I kind of had to learn on the fly, but if I went to work and I needed to borrow a tool, I would do my best to buy that tool at the end of the week. I didn't fill my tool bucket or my toolbox all at once. It happened over several years. But for the ground level, you do need to get a set of bags. And you can work with your apprenticeship coordinator. You can work with reps like myself to kind of figure out what you're going to need. The reason there's no blanket answer for this is all the jobs are different. If your first job as a first term apprentice is on a concrete job, then, I would recommend getting a certain set of tools. If your first job as a first term apprentice is working with a cabinet installer, then I would recommend getting a totally different set of tools. And, if you end up specializing in concrete or finished carpentry, really two ends of the spectrum in our world, then you can kind of build just that specialized set of tools. But as I mentioned earlier, it's better, at least my path, it was better to kind of have a broad skill set. And so if you look in my garage, I've got a set of tools for concrete, a set of tools for framing, a set of tools for finished carpentry, a set of tools for hanging doors and doing hardware, which I developed over a long time. But really, each time I hit a job site, hopefully you got enough tools to make it through that first day. Then you kind of look around to see what everybody else is using and needing, and you start building your tool set that way. There are a couple of programs through the Bureau of Labor and Industry, BOLI, which is a state entity. They do help apprentices, regardless of the trade, fill that first tool bag and that first toolbox. So there are programs through the state that help apprentices. We have a couple of pre-apprenticeship programs. Our training center offers one, but then also the Job Corps offers one, where if you graduate those programs, that they help you purchase your first full set of tools as well. So there are opportunities to get that, that first investment in tools provided for you, with, again, some sacrifice on your part. But I wouldn't let that hinder anybody from looking at this direction and getting involved with any of the trades, because we all understand, especially as a first term apprentice, that you're not going to know what a spud wrench is or what it's for. You may not know what a framing square is about or how to use it. All of those things are learned knowledge, and so are the use of tools. So really, you're expected to know how to hit things and measure things. You want to tape measure, you want a hammer, you want a speed square in almost all circumstances. But the tools you're going to need for the job are really going to be defined when you hit the job. And there's not only apprenticeship coordinators, but there's also other folks you're going to meet on the job sites that can help you develop the tool set that you need for that particular job. We're all here to help each other. So if you get on a job site and you don't have a chalk line, someone's going to tell you, because you're going to have to borrow a chalk line. Someone's going to say, don't you have one? And then you're going to put it in the back of your head. When I get paid this week, I'm getting a chalk line. And then that's how toolboxes and tool sets are built. Nobody's going to require you to purchase hundreds of dollars worth of tools for day one.
Great advice. I do remember that being you don't want to ask people for tools, so you remember what you got to go buy and you get them. We got a great question here in the chat. How much of the lack of numbers do you think has to do with awareness? How can we provide exploration opportunities for all students? And what age do you think would be best to start awareness and exploration?
Awareness as far as what the trades can do.
I would assume this would be for minorities or women or people who aren't typically in the trades right now, but we want to get them that information.
You know, there's a I sit on a couple of different groups that during normal times we do job fairs, and we talk about you know, do we want to do high school job fairs, middle school job fairs, and or elementary job fairs. And really, job fairs for me, from my perspective, is about planting seeds. It's about letting people know of the opportunity. A lot of us, including myself, don't find construction until our late 20s. I went to college for a little bit. I tried some other things and fell back into construction in my late 20s. But with that said, I don't think it's ever too early to start talking about the trades. I'm very happy to see states, especially Oregon, reinvesting in career technical education. That's the seed that was planted for me in high school. Was you know, through my shop classes and the experience that I had just building in high school and doing those types of things. I had no interest in construction while I was in high school, but as I entered the workforce and started doing other jobs, you know, it's that physical labor and that instant gratification of building something, and also that long-term gratification of seeing something that you did always be there. But it really was I would not have gravitated back towards construction if I didn't have that time in the shop in high school and even junior high is when I first started getting exposed to our wood shop in my high school. And it really was my wood shop teacher. And again, I had no interest in doing this. It wasn't the path I was planning on taking. But nevertheless, he took the time to make sure that I knew how to run a skill saw and a router and knew how to measure and how to envision pieces coming together to make something. And so if I were in a high school or some sort of counselor in a high school, you know, this is an opportunity that it doesn't hurt even in elementary to start talking about it. You know, as I entered the workforce and realized how hard I had to work to make a living, you really start asking yourself, if I'm going to work hard at something for the rest of my life, I should do something that I enjoy doing, right? And construction gave me that opportunity. As I said, I really enjoy working outdoors. I grew up on a farm, so I think some of that comes there. I really enjoy physical labor. I enjoy using my body and testing my body. You know, it's fun to push your body to physical limits and get paid for it at the same time. I'm naturally afraid of heights. So growing up as a kid, I didn't even want to get up in the treehouse with my friends. But as I grew older, it became in construction, heights is not as big of an issue, to tell you the truth, because you've got harnesses on, you're tied to something. If you fall, it's probably going to hurt, but you're not going to perish, right? And that gave me the confidence I needed to work at heights, but also the sincere adrenaline rush that it would give me to work at heights, you know. So I guess just to get back to your initial question, I don't think it's ever too early to start talking about the opportunities that the trades can provide, that can provide lifetime of satisfaction, a great job, a great community to work and be around. but again, there's sacrifice that comes along with it. You know, we do sacrifice our bodies every day. We do sacrifice time with our families, our jobs, and it is sometimes feast or famine. Sometimes you can work every single day, 10 hours a day, 7 days a week for a job, and make really good money. And of course, you're sacrificing time with your family during that time. And then the next job may be very intermittent work, or it may be a month before you find your next job or get to your next job. So, you know, not letting people know not only of the opportunity, but also of the sacrifice that it takes to be successful in the trades, I guess is important. But it's really never too early to start talking about that, because it gets young people dreaming about what they want to do. And for a lot of us, it creates a foundation like, yes, I can come back to this. It is something I'm interested in. Let me go try these other things, just like I did. And I fell back into an opportunity in construction and fell in love with it. So I guess it's never too early, but also it's really never too late. I did a journeyman evaluation earlier this morning with a man that's he's about my age, in his mid 40s, upper 40s. And he's just now joining the Carpenters Union and going to work for one of our contractors. He's had a lifetime of construction, of course, but today's the day he chose to take another path. So, you know, it's never too early and it's never too late either. I hope that helped.
Great feedback, Jeff. So we have about 1 minute left. We might have time for one more quick question if anyone has one.
Yes, I do. I wanted to ask, where are some of your guys' contractors located? Like cities?
Yeah, really all over. You know, I'm in Eugene. We have Wildish Construction is based here. McKinsey Commercial is based here. We also have several contractors that have home bases and other spots that have offices here, like Fortis and Anderson. We have a huge contractor base in Portland, but most of those Portland contractors operate throughout the state. We have nationwide contractors like Kiewit who hire our carpenters. Black and Beach. Oh, go ahead.
Do you have any in Southern Oregon?
You bet. Down in Medford is S&B James. There's a cabinet shop in Umpqua Valley Millwork and Cabinets out of Roseburg. Hoppus Construction out of Medford as well. Anderson is down there building a hospital in Medford right now. Pence Kelly is in Klamath Falls doing concrete work. They're in Grants Pass doing concrete work. Western Partitions is a drywall metal stud company, and they're framing right now in Coos Bay. They will be framing and doing drywall on the hospital in Medford. They're also doing work in Grants Pass. So our contractors operate all throughout the state. There are some home-based contractors in Southern Oregon and Central Oregon and up and down the valley, but for the most part, our contractors operate throughout the whole state.
Okay, I was just asking because I'm from Roseburg.
Yeah, Umpqua Valley Millworks is right there in Roseburg, but you know, at the community college there, the hospitals, the veterans facilities there, we almost always have carpenters working at those facilities, and really the state and public work is where our contractors thrive. So school work, and that's statewide, municipal work like water treatment plants, large commercial buildings, you know, any college or community college, our contractors are typically on. And that's typically because those wages and benefits are set by the state, by the prevailing wage, where our contractors can compete on those projects. And a lot of our public entities see the rationale behind investing in the worker too. So the higher wages and the good benefits are encouraged on those projects where, you know, construction can also be what we call a race to the bottom, where certain aspects of our industry feed those contractors that pay the lowest wages and provide no benefits. And, that's part of our industry too. But my job in our industry is to raise the standard for all carpenters, and that's what we work to do.
Awesome. Well, I want to say thank you to everybody who's on the call today. That kind of marks our time. If you guys have any questions and you want to follow up, please reach out to me and I'll get you in touch with the people that you need to speak with. Jeff, I really appreciate your time on the call today. Thank you so much. I look forward to being able to work with you in partnering meetings and such, and I will definitely be in touch with you regarding the Southern Oregon Trade Career Expo. So,
awesome, Joshua. Thank you for allowing me to speak to everybody, and I hope that I provided good information. My office is in Eugene, Carpenter's Local 271. If anybody has any questions, you can always call our office and get through to me. I'm always anxious to talk to folks, especially if you're interested in this trade. And if it's another trade you're interested in, give me a call. I'll get you in touch with their rep too.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your afternoon. See you later.